Archaeologists unearths unique tomb of 6th century BC Egyptian commander at the archaeological area of Abu Sir. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities announced on July 15 that a team of Czech archaeologists, while excavating near the Giza Plateau, discovered a tomb belonging to a powerful Egyptian military commander who lived 2,500 years ago. The ancient commander's tomb was discovered by Czech researchers about 7.5 miles, 12 kilometers, from the pyramids of Giza, near the Old Kingdom Cemetery, and the Abu Sir archaeological site. Notably, the tomb was located near Wa Ibra Marinate's embalming stash, which was discovered 4 months earlier. The finding of the latter suggested that the commander was buried nearby, so the archaeologists were not shocked to find this burial site where they did. In a press release, the ministry said that the discovery is unique of its kind and provides new insight into the turbulent period of the beginning of the era of the Persian domination of ancient Egypt, and puts forward the first evidence of true globalization in the ancient world. The tomb also offers a new insight into the turbulent period of the beginning of the era of the Persian domination of ancient Egypt. The cemetery documents a period when the ancient Egyptians lived in the 6th century BC. During this period, the Egyptians greatly expanded their sphere of influence. Therefore, the kings of the 26th dynasty, 664–525 BC, brought in foreign mercenaries and united them in many parts of the country, including the army. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, stated in a ministry statement that the design of this good tomb was unsurpassed in ancient Egypt. Wa Ibra Marinate was buried in a large, square tomb, with 2 levels that were excavated especially to house the revered commander's bones. The main shaft was around 45 feet by 45 feet, 14 meters by 14 meters in size, and was nearly 20 feet, 6 meters deep. Below it, a smaller shaft, rectangular in shape, 11 feet by 21 feet long, was dug into the bedrock, 6.5 meters by 3.3 meters. At the bottom of this second tunnel, some 52 feet underground, the commander's mummified body was placed 16 meters. He was interred in a complex double sarcophagus with an inner and an outer part. The inside coffin was fashioned from basalt and sculpted into the shape of a human body, while the exterior sarcophagus was built from 2 massive slabs of white limestone. The basalt sarcophagus's overall dimensions were 7.5 by 6.5 feet, 2.3 by 1.98 meters. The archaeologists were disappointed to see that this great discovery was defeated by the tomb thieves, and the sarcophagus was smashed open, and the mummy of Wa moved. Based on the finding of 2 pottery objects left within the tomb that belonged to the 4th or 5th century AD, they determined that tomb robbers had broken in and taken it more than 1,000 years ago. In addition to the absence of a mummy, the area inside the basalt sarcophagus was devoid of grave goods. Only a scarab delicately carved into the shape of a heart and an amulet supposed to be worn on the head was discovered. However, the mission found on the eastern side of the necropolis many intact archaeological relics that were part of the funerary belongings, including 402 Ishabdi statues made of faience. Ishabdis, which are little figurines that were placed in ancient Egyptian tombs along with mummies that often had writing from the Book of the Dead, was thought to represent the departed and carry out tasks for them in the hereafter.
The sculpted heads of Greek gods Aphrodite and Dionysus were recently unearthed in the ancient city of Izanoi in western Turkey.
The heads of both Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and Dionysus, the god of wine, are important findings for us, as they show that the polytheistic culture of ancient Greece existed for a long time without losing its importance in the Roman era, excavation coordinator Gökhan Kaskin told Anadolu Agency. Noting that the statues' bodies were found in a previous dig, Kaskin, an archaeologist at Dumlupanar University, said the heads were unearthed during recent excavations in a creek bed in the ancient city of Izanoi. With a 5,000-year-old history, Izanoi, situated 50 kilometers, 31 miles, from the Kütahya city center, was included in the UNESCO World Heritage Tentative List in 2012.
In August, a statue of the ancient Greek goddess Hygeia, the goddess of health and cleanliness, was also unearthed in Izanoi.
As is often seen in statues unearthed in Turkey, the head of the statue is missing. Kaskin, who works at Dumlupanar University in central Turkey, said, "Unfortunately, the head hasn't survived to the present day, but in its current form, we can see that this statue is about the size of a human." He added that during past digs in Izanoi, finds related to Hygeia were also found.
This situation makes us think that there may have been some construction and buildings related to the health cult in Izanoi during the Roman era.
Izanoi was an important political and economic center in Roman times. Surviving remains from the period include a well-preserved temple of Zeus, an unusual combined theater-stadium complex, and Macellum inscribed with the price edict of Diocletian.
The city fell into decline in late antiquity. Settlement in the area is known from the Bronze Age.
During the Hellenistic period, the city changed hands between the Kingdom of Pergamum and the Kingdom of Bithynia, before being bequeathed to Rome by the former in 133 BC. It continued to mint its own coins. Its monumental buildings date from the early empire to the 3rd century. The Temple of Zeus, situated upon a hill, was the city's main sanctuary.
Ceramic findings indicate local habitation from the first half of the 3rd millennium BC.
Izanoi's theater and stadium are built adjacent to each other, and this combined complex is said to be unique in the ancient world.
2 sets of thermae have been identified.
The first, between the theater stadium and the temple, is from the second half of the 2nd century and includes a palestra and marble furnishings. The second, in the northeast of the city, was built a century later. Floor mosaics depict a satyr and Maenad. Rebuilt a couple of centuries later, it served as the bishop's seat.
Zhao Kangman, the man who discovered China's Terracotta Army. When archaeologist Zhao Kangman picked up the phone in April 1974, all he was told was that a group of farmers digging a well nearby had found some relics. Desperate for water amid a drought, the farmers had been digging about a meter down when they struck hard red earth. Underneath, they had found life-size pottery heads and several bronze arrowheads. It could be an important find, Zhao's boss said, so he should go and have a look as soon as possible. A local farmer turned museum curator in China's central Shaanxi province, Zhao, who died on 16 May at the age of 81, had an inkling of what he might find. He knew figures had in the past been dug out of the earth in the area near the city of Xi'an, home to orchards of persimmon and pomegranate trees, and not far from the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. A decade earlier, he had personally uncovered 3 kneeling crossbowmen, but he had never been certain that they dated back to the rule of the emperor, who unified the Chinese nation for the first time under the short-lived Qin dynasty, 221–206 BC. But what Zhao was about to find would surpass anything he could have imagined. The farmers, it would turn out, had stumbled upon one of the most stunning archaeological finds of the 20th century. A terracotta army estimated at 8,000 strong, crafted on an industrial scale 2,200 years earlier, to defend the emperor in the afterlife. A ghost army, complete with horses and chariots, hidden underground and never meant to be seen by the living. Zhao headed to the location of the find with a colleague. Because we were so excited, we rode on our bicycles so fast it felt as if we were flying, he would later write in a 2014 essay. As he arrived, Zhao told the British historian John Mann, "I saw 7 or 8 bits of legs, arms and 2 heads lying near the well, along with some bricks." He said he immediately realized these were likely the remnants of Qin-era statues. The farmers who had made the find weeks earlier and already sold some of the bronze arrowheads for scrap were told to stop their work immediately. The relics were collected and brought to the museum on the back of trucks. Zhao began laboriously putting the fragments together. Some, he later said, were the size of a fingernail. Finally, after 3 days of work, 2 imposing terracotta warriors stood before him, each 1.78 meters tall. But while Zhao was buoyed by this incredible discovery, he was also nervous. China in 1974 was in the closing stages of Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution, under which the fearsome Red Guards sought to destroy old traditions and ways of thinking to purify society. Zhao, as Mann recounts in his book The Terracotta Army, had personally been subject to a self-criticism session in the late 1960s as a person involved with old things. So now, although the worst excesses of that period were over, Zhao was worried what might become of the statues. He decided to keep it secret, restore the artifacts, and then wait for the right opportunity to report it. But those plans would be scuppered by a young journalist from state news agency Xinhua, who was visiting the area when he came across the statues. He asked, "This is such a huge discovery. Why aren't you reporting it?" Zhao wrote, to which the archaeologist replied, "Even I don't know how to make sense of this. How could I report it?" Ignoring his pleas, the journalist publicized the find, and word made its way to the very top of the Communist Party leadership. Zhao's fears that the relics could be smashed for political reasons however, proved unfounded. The authorities in Beijing decided to excavate the site, and within a few months more than 500 warriors had been uncovered. As the work continued, the extraordinary scale of what the first emperor, a ruthless man who defeated 6 warring states to unite China under an imperial system that continued until 1912, had commissioned became clear. He is said to have ordered the subterranean project, which in total covers some 56 sq kilometers, soon after ascending to the throne at 13 years old. The thousands of warriors were placed in battle formation, ready to defend their emperor from whatever might await in the afterlife. The workmanship was detailed, with dozens of different types of heads, and in the burial pits were 100 chariots and tens of thousands of bronze weapons. The actual tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang remained sealed. There could be thousands of precious artifacts inside, but the risks of opening the tomb, and irreparably damaging what may lie inside, means the Chinese government has held off so far. In 1975, a year after the excavations began, a decision was made to open a museum at the site, and as digging continued in the coming years, word spread about the scale of what had been found. Foreign dignitaries and some tourists began to visit. Zhao was there and lapping up the attention, says Prof. Dame Jessica Rawson of the University of Oxford, who specializes in Chinese art and archaeology, and visited the sites in the early 1980s. By the time I met him, everyone was showing him great respect, and he was very much sort of enjoying the esteem associated with the terracotta warriors, she said. But the professor added, I'm not sure how he or the Chinese authorities viewed it at the time. They were probably not expecting the acclaim and success that it has later enjoyed. It did take some years for the site to receive widespread global recognition. It was given UNESCO World Heritage status in 1987, with the UN cultural body describing the warriors as masterpieces of realism. Today, the site is widely recognized as a Chinese national treasure, but there is a sense that Zhao's personal role in the discovery was never fully recognized. He is by no means well known in China,